The 2012 college football season, which started with Alabama ranked number 2 in the country, Notre Dame unranked, ends with those two storied football programs squaring off January 7th in Miami for all the, what is it, marbles?
It's not Tostitos, it's oranges.
It's oranges, for all the oranges, okay. And for folks who maybe don't like these teams, which are numerous in this country, spoiler alert, one has to win. So the question is, who do you think that'll be?
I think you have to go with Bama, both because of that program, the way they've done the last few years, 2 out of the last 3 national titles, but then also the SEC. I mean, it's been 6 in a row,
right?
And it just goes to show you that they're the one team that has a loss in this game. Notre Dame is the one, other than Ohio State, the one major undefeated. Right. Yet they're a 10-point underdog, which just tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
I mean, Notre Dame has played a great schedule. They've improved. But I still think there's just this doubt in everyone's mind whether anybody can beat the SEC, especially on this stage.
Right, this is true. But as we talked about, Alabama has shown some vulnerability this season, and Notre Dame has had an incredibly strong defense. They're great against the run, which is, of course, Alabama's strength. They're great 2 running backs, Eddie Lacy and T.J. Yeldon. And, you know, a guy who maybe has not gotten enough credit this season is A.J. McCarron, the Alabama quarterback, who is actually, I think, player of the game in last year's BCS Championship, which, of course, Alabama won. So he's coming back, whereas Notre Dame's lining up essentially a rookie quarterback who has not been on the stage before. So it's a huge matchup. Where do you think each team is most vulnerable?
Well, it's a good question. I think that's actually the spot that they're both most vulnerable at. I mean, McCarron has been there. He won this game last year against LSU, but if you remember the title game against Georgia, he didn't really make a whole lot of plays until at least the very end when I remember he hit a bomb down the left side for the very end, which was a big play in that game. But he did not look great in that game for me. Really, it was the running game that won that game for them. And I think that Notre Dame's going to try to do the same thing again, shut down the running game and force McCarron to beat them. And then, of course, on the Notre Dame side, that has always been the weak link all year, the fact that Golson's a young guy that, you know, even though Brian Kelly, the head coach of Notre Dame, is known for being an offensive guru, they have really just reined it in this year, concentrated on not turning the ball over. And even when Golson struggles, they bring in Tommy Rees off the bench, who's more of a pocket passer. So they're not afraid to switch it up just because Golson, you know, he brings some things to the table. He can run a little bit, but he still is coming along as a quarterback. So for both of these teams, those are the weak links.
And some people might say Notre Dame's gotten a little bit lucky this season. You know, they needed overtime to beat Pittsburgh and a little bit of luck against Stanford and so on. And
BYU was close.
Right, and some might say USC kind of gave up that game and you know, poor clock management and so on down the stretch. Do you think the Irish deserve to be in this game?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you play a schedule like that, you're going to have some close games. And they're a defensive team. They're not a team that blows people out. Just because the way they play their game offensively, they just try to minimize turnovers because they know that defense, they can rely on it. I think you'll see the same thing here. The big question is whether Alabama can score on them and force Notre Dame out of that shell. Nobody's been able to do it, starting with the Michigan State games earlier in the year, and then right on down the season. The only team that got out in front of them was Pittsburgh, and you saw Notre Dame have to play a catch-up game against them. Against Bama, it's not going to work because Notre Dame just does not have the offensive firepower for it. So the key for me is whether those running backs for Alabama are able to get 5-6 yards a pop. If they can, Bama's going to win easy. If not, look out.
So Notre Dame has sort of the echoes, waking up the echoes on its side. I would say Alabama, I don't know if I'd bet against Nick Saban with 5-6 weeks to prepare. He's a mastermind, and I'm not sure that anyone can beat him with that much time.
Well, not that we're encouraging gambling here, but for entertainment purposes, if you're talking about betting, the line is 10 points. And I think that Notre Dame is going to keep this game close. But we'll see. You're absolutely right. Nick Saban's been great in these spots, beating Texas a couple years ago, LSU last year, and then now here we are again. They came through in that SEC title game against Georgia, so it's hard to go against that experience.
Notre Dame, Alabama, everybody wins. This is going to be a great game to cap off a pretty exciting 2012 college football season.